All right, we are on lesson 27. Our objective says I will be able to identify when a set of data is misleading by examining bar graphs, circle graphs, and line graphs. So when we look at charts, sometimes it's easy to make a set of data look misleading if you're trying to make the data say something that it does not actually say. So here's an example. The graph of the line shows the number of members of a health club each month since it opened. Explain why the graph is misleading. So if you look at this, it looks like, oh, the number of members went up and up and up and up and up. But the reason that it did that, the reason that it makes it look like it went up so quickly is because the scale does not start at 0. If it started at 0, the increase here would look a lot smaller. So, because the scale does not start at 0, because the scale does not start at 0, the membership appears to increase much more quickly than it actually did. The membership appears to increase more quickly than it actually did. So, because if that started at 0, you would see a much smaller looking increase. So what was probably happening is Ronaldo's health club was trying to make it look like, oh, look how many people are attending our gym. So they gave it a broken axis so that it would look like this increased much larger than it actually did. So a broken axis, that's one way to make a graph look misleading. Here's another way. What you'll see is, this says to explain why this is misleading. What you see is if you look at this, it looks like all 4 of these are pretty much the same. It looks like all 4 of these are pretty much the same. But that's because the increments that they use are 500, increments of 500. You go 0, 500, 1,000, 1,500. So there may be a 300-person difference right there, or a 200-person difference, or even a 50-person difference, but you can't hardly tell that because the increments are so large. So the large increments make the data values appear to be closer than they actually are. So, if you were trying to make a graph that said, okay, well, rock is just as popular as pop. Well, you can't really tell right here, but pop may actually be they may have about 50 or 100 more people that like pop, but you can't tell because these increments are so large. So this is a misleading graph. Look on the back. The circle graph shows the number of some types of sandwiches the deli sells, oh, I'm not showing it, in one day. Explain why the graph might be misleading. Well, the circle graph only includes tuna, turkey, ham, and roast beef. Also, the title, there's a couple of things here. The title does not specify that these were the only sandwiches. Oops, so where's W in sandwiches? There's not. I always try to put a W in sandwiches. Sandwiches sold at the deli, and it may not represent all categories. Okay, so basically, there could be other types of sandwiches that were sold at this deli. They could have peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. They could have club sandwiches. They could have, I don't know, what else? Peanut butter and banana sandwiches. There could be all types of sandwiches that were not sold at this deli, but the title does not specify that these are the only sandwiches. They could have had a chicken salad sandwich or something like that, but none of those were included in here. So this is misleading because it does not tell you all the types of sandwiches that could have been available at this store. Where is this? Deli. At this deli. Last one. Okay? An electronics store created the graph to show that the average selling price of a television each year. Explain why this graph is misleading. This is similar to the one that we looked at last time, or in example 2. 0, 500, 1,000, 500. The large increments make the price increases appear to be smaller than they actually are. Because look, in 2000 it looks like a television cost about $750. Oh no, that's about $650. Then in 2001 it was all the way up to almost $750. So that's an almost $100 difference. But because they use such large intervals, it looks like the price hardly went up at all. So this television store, what is this? Oh, no, this electronics store is wanting it to look like, oh, our prices have not increased very much, so they use really large increments. And it makes it look like, oh, this only went up a little bit, when really the price went all the way from about $650 to in 2005, it was almost $1,000. That's a big increase, but it does not look like it with this graph. So they use large increments to make it look like there are small differences when really they are large. That is all.